Good day, students and viewers. You are welcome to the studios of Maths X. Today, we will be learning about fractions, decimals, and percentages. Fractions, decimals, and percentages. Let us start with the fractional part first. First of all, there are many definitions of what a fraction is. I will share a couple with you here. But I want to start by telling you that a fraction is a portion of a complete part of an object or a number. Let's put that down first before I give you the other definitions of fractions. So a fraction is a portion of a complete part of an object or a number. There are other definitions of what a fraction is. So I can also say that a fraction shows how many parts you have of anything when divided into several pieces. Also, a fraction is obtained when a number referring to the numerator is divided by another number. I'm referring to the what? The denominator. So those are definitions of fractions. There are many other definitions of fractions that can be given to you. Like I said earlier, so many of it. So let us delve into what a fraction truly is. Let me start by a simple diagram. If I have a sphere, I'll put forward a diagram of a sphere being this way. And I choose to divide this sphere into 4 parts. So this is your sphere. Pardon my diagram, I'm not the best of artists. The same sphere we had earlier, I've divided into parts. So going by the second definition I gave you, that a fraction shows how many parts you have of anything when divided into several pieces. So I had a sphere, an object like a sphere here. So here we have this sphere divided into 4 parts. Now, because this sphere is divided into 4 parts, each of the parts is a quarter, which is 1 over 4, 1 over 4, and 1 over 4. So these are fractions. Each of the fractions we have here, each of the parts here are fractions. So 1 over 4, 1 over 4, 1 over 4, 1 over 4. So going by that second definition I gave you, that a fraction shows how many parts you have of anything when divided into what? Several pieces. So the last definition I gave you of a number, which is the numerator, being divided by another number, which is the denominator, that will constrain me to show forth a fraction in terms of its expression. How do you express a fraction? Let's look at, there's some space here. So I have a number like 1 over 4, which is what I have there. The top part of the fraction is called the numerator, and the lower part of the fraction is called the denominator. So in terms of its appearance, a fraction should look like this. In mathematics, there are 7 types of fractions, and I'm going to put you through all 7 of them. But largely, most people know about 3 of them. But I must confess, the other 4 are linked to this first 3, which is what we learned largely in our primary school. All right, let's start with the fractions. The first type of fraction I want us to talk about, sorry, for types of fractions. For types of fractions. The first type of fraction is the proper fraction. In this type of fraction, the numerator is less in value than the denominator in this type of fraction. An example of this kind of fraction is what I wrote earlier for you. That was 1 over 4, where the numerator is less in value than the denominator. There could be other types, maybe 3 over 8, 7 over 9. All these are proper fractions. So you have the numerator being smaller than the denominator. Now, there is a second kind of fraction, and that is the improper fraction. The improper fraction. For the improper fraction, we have a fraction where the numerator is greater in value than the denominator. Example of this being 7 over 2, 9 over 8, 3 over 2. So most natural numbers are improper fractions because the denominator, the denominator is always 1. So we have 7 over 1, which is 1, which is 7, I mean to say. We have 8 over 1, which is 8. So most natural numbers are improper fractions in that their denominators can be written as 1. The next kind of fraction I want us to talk about is the mixed fraction. For the mixed fraction, this kind of fraction has a whole number and a fractional part. So we are talking about numbers like 3 whole number, 1 over 2, which is what is gotten from here. So your improper fraction can be turned into a mixed fraction easily. For here, this is 1 whole number 1 over 8, and also 1 whole number 1 over 2. So for this kind of fraction, a mixed fraction, it has a whole number part and a fractional part. The next kind of fraction we have is the like fraction. So number 4 is the like fraction. When do we say fractions are like fractions? Like fractions are fractions that have the same denominator. So I'm looking, so they have the same denominator. So I'm looking at numbers like 3 over 4, 2 over 4, 1 over 4, maybe lastly 5 over 4. Though improper, but if you look at all these numbers, they share a common denominator. So fractions like this are termed as like fractions. Having talked about our like fractions, the next fraction we're going to talk about is the unlike, because if there's a like fraction, there will most likely be an unlike fraction. So our fifth type of fraction is the unlike fraction. So what makes a fraction unlike? When do we have an unlike fraction? We have an unlike fraction when they don't share a common denominator. So fractions like 5 over 4, 2 over 3, 6 over 7, 6 over 7, 2 over 5. So all these are what? Unlike fractions in that they are denominators are divergent, are different. And if I must add or subtract this kind of fraction, I will have to find a common LCM for all of them. Our next type of fraction is our equivalent fraction. For equivalent fraction, these fractions have the same ratio. What am I talking about? I have 2 over 4, I have 3 over 6, I have, they are all equal. I have 4 over 8, I have 1 over 2. If you do make an attempt to reduce to lowest term, you will observe that This is 1 over 2. This is 1 over 2. This is 1 over 2. And into this last one. So these are equivalent fractions. 2 over 4, 3 over 6, 4 over 8, 1 and a half. In that they all share the same ratio. Lastly, and certainly not the least, the next fraction I want us to talk about, the seventh one, is called the unit fraction. For our unit fraction, this refers to a fraction where the numerator is 1, has a value of 1. So by this, I'm referring to fractions like 1 over 6, 1 over 2, 1 over 8. So I can go on and on and on. So these are unit fractions where the numerator is 1, and of course it has to be positive. That numerator has to be a positive number. It should not be negative. So these are the 7 types of fractions in mathematics. Now, since we are dealing with fractions, before I go into fractional operations, the first thing I want us to do is to show you, my dear student, how to convert a fraction from from a mixed fraction to to an improper fraction, and maybe and vice versa. So I will take an example on that particular operation before we get into our mathematical operations involving fractions. So, my dear students and viewers, for changing from an improper fraction to a mixed fraction, I'll try an example. So I'm looking at a number like 17 over 5. You would say 5 into 17 is 3. 3 times 5, 15. And you would now say 17 minus the 15, which you got from 3 times 5. And that will be 2. So that's the 2 you're seeing here on top. That's your remainder, all over 5. From a mixed fraction to an improper. Three whole number, 4 over 7. So also changing from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction. So I have a mixed fraction here, 3 whole number, 4 over 7. It's a simple operation. You will multiply the 7 times 3. 7 times 3 is what? 21. Then 21 plus 4, you will end up having what? 25. So you have 25 over 7. So what I mean by that is 3 times 7 plus 4. And that ends up giving you 25 over 7 as your improper fraction. So changing from improper fraction to a mixed fraction, and also you can change from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction. So I've showed you two examples of that particular operation. I hope we are good to go with this. These are things that we learn in our primary school. So, my dear students and viewers, this is the much we can take in today's video. I trust you've learned a lot. In our next class, we will talk about basic operations involving fractions, and we will start with addition and subtraction. Keep watching the videos of Maths X, like, share, and subscribe. As you do so, God bless you.